Technologies never stay still, especially from the side of robotics, and so are we. So today we will see a dozen of cool cyber animals. And not only, one robot from our list even knows how to cook food. The family of robot animals from the German developer of robotics, Festo, is growing. The company presents many new robots, for example, a swarm of ants that can interact with each other, as well as butterflies and dragonflies, which are characterized by all the ease and grace of these insects. When they were created, the company focused not only on their appearance, but also on behavioral characteristics. The ants coordinate with each other all their actions. Each ant, that is 13 centimeters long, has on its belly a radio module through which precise coordination is carried out. A 3D stereo camera in the head of the ant allows it to see, and the infrared optical sensor installed below monitors the movement of the mini robot. Meanwhile, two onboard batteries provide up to 40 minutes of wireless ants work, and they are recharged in the dock with the help of their antenna. As for butterfly robots, the weight of each butterfly is only 32 grams. This includes two servos, a pair of small batteries, and a laser-made casing. After one charging that lasts 15 minutes, butterflies will be able to flutter for about 4 minutes, and their flight looks very impressive. They're not just butterflies, but a whole system that consists of 10 high-speed infrared cameras installed in a room where butterflies fly. They track the infrared markers installed on the robots, transmitting data in real time to the central computer. So that's how coordination of butterflies is going in the space. You can hardly distinguish these bionic butterflies from the real ones in the room where they fly. Robotic seagulls and dragonflies that can fly just like their living relatives. The seagull was developed in 2012. Later, a dragonfly that can hang in the air, no worse than its natural counterpart, was invented. All the details of the dragonfly were made on a 3D printer, and you can control this miracle with a smartphone. Through these developments, the company could edge out the development market of flying drones, but it doesn't need it. The technology of flying and hovering in the air is worked on these two prototypes. The Kangaroo Robot. At the core of the bionic kangaroo is a mechanism of repercussion. It uses the energy recovered from one jump to help it make another. Real kangaroos quickly get tired and could not jump for a long time without this mechanism. Springs that store mechanical energy on the landing and give it away on the next jump are used in this project. Bionic kangaroo that weighs 7 kilograms and highs 1 meter can make a jump of 80 centimeters in length and 40 centimeters in height. The power supply system that forces it to move is a pneumatic accelerometer. The robot is controlled by a special bandage that reads myoelectric signals from the human forearm.
we will
Mr. Mageshwaran sir, good morning.
Morning, sir.
Yeah.
good morning,
Good morning,
sir.
sir.
Yeah.
Good morning. Morning.
So I'm sharing my PPT.
Yeah.
Once again, good morning all the participants. So now we are resuming the session. Now we are in the session 8, extracting data from applications. Welcome you back for this session 8. Let me introduce the speaker of today's session, Mr. Mageshwaran. Currently, he is working as practice head, GUI. To say a few words about him, he is a consultant on wide areas of business applications with expertise on Python with machine learning, RPA with UiPath and BPM. He implemented many BPM suites to name few: Metastorm BPM, Pega PRPZ, Broad Vision and Fujitsu Interstage BPM. He involved in the design of BPM SOA architecture using BPM suite and SOA registry repository with software as a service enabled business model. He implemented many projects with BPM and CMS integration and OCR capturing applications for constructions and educational organizations. He specialized in business process management, financial banking, healthcare, SaaS business model, and SOA. And these are the tools he is expertise in: J2, EE, Ajax, Truths, EJB, SQL, XML, JavaScripts, DHTML, Web 2.0, and many more. So with this brief note of introduction, it's my pleasure and privilege to welcome Mr. Maheshwaran to this AICTE ATAL sponsored online 5-day FDP on robotics organized by KCG College of Technology for the session 8. Sir, please, you are welcome and the stage is yours.
Thank you for the warm welcome, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a little echo is on the other side, I believe. Hmm. Yeah, I think it's better now. Yeah. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. So let me present my screen to begin. So I hope it is visible, sir, now.
Yes, sir. Visible.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hi, all. I think we believe in, or everyone should actually believe in knowledge sharing. So that is the pure purpose that we are here. Everyone are here, and it's more of getting evolving, similar to the natural evaluation. We should also evolve based on sharing of knowledge, and knowledge acquisition is not just one directional, or it cannot be from a single avenue. We might need to source from different, especially in this modern world, and even during this like Corona period, there are new ways that we are opening up. The lifestyle or even work style, everything is completely changing as well, right? So should believe in evolution, and yeah, that's what it is. And today's session, like we will concentrate on data extraction with RPA. And I am Maheshwaran. Okay, as I think sir had given a brief introduction, I worked both in mostly product-based companies and some of the service-based companies, and more towards business process management projects. And it gave a new, what should I say, like a new way of looking at IT instead of just traditional IT projects. BPM is one way, and again now RPA is again changing it into a different style. So that's what we are more inclined towards now. So just to give about the organization that I represent a company, GUI. We are an online tech learning platform in which the tech courses or tech learning or the sessions will be through vernacular medium and English, so that it becomes lively, and that's what we believe in, hands-on practice rather than book type definition or just syntax. And these are some stats about GUI. We want to be recognized as one of the game changers if you want to call it that way, right? So if you believe in successful uh, new innovative products which are coming up from countries like Japan or German technology or Italian automobile, or even small little micro boards are only coming from countries like Taiwan, Vietnam, and these sort of companies or the countries in which English is not their primary way of communication, right? So they learn the technology or they try to understand better through their native language, and then they excel in it, right? So that is our motive as well, to encourage people to understand every concept, especially in technology, and then apply their thoughts to be innovative. And to be frank, though we call India as the IT hub, we don't generally move towards creating something of our own, right? So we should actually move towards that, and that is our goal as well. And respective to RPA, this is one major avenue. You can look at creating your own or applying your own thought process instead of just playing on general problems. The bot for everyone again is a vision that most of the RPA companies do have. Okay, they call it as buddy bot or just bot for everyone, every person. And moving towards that goal, it's again an organizational implementation, and both as an individualistic uh, choice of accomplishing certain tasks on a daily routine. Yeah. And if you look at RPA as a whole, it has varieties of applications. Like though I was more towards business process management at my project implementation stages. Even that can be smartly being implemented even through workflows in RPA as well. Okay, or it can even work together, right? So BPM has its own strength, business process management tools like Pega, or let's say MetaStage. Like those are some of the prime like implementations like 5 to 10 years back. But now we are more moving towards industry 4.0, in which we are also getting involved with RPA 4.0, which is inclusive of all these aspects we're talking about, including AI, ML in RPA, as well as BPM integration. BPM has its own strengths, especially in terms of integration with other applications and even legacy applications. So we can tap that benefits of BPM combining with RPA will make a better or a smarter implementation, okay, in any organization or any individualistic application, if you look at it that way, right? And these are some prime examples, implementations of RPA that is happening right now in the industry with risk compliance, which is again a key area, order processing, which is again a typical ERP based processing, payroll processing, or even price comparisons. There are even popular sites, right? Let's say policypulsar.com, just an example, right? So there is a segment which is evolving, like a fintech based companies or like fintech and insurance based companies, which are utilizing these smarter applications so that they move towards areas which had not been touched upon before, right? So price comparison is one thing. You can even look at it even based on your movie ticket booking, even using an RPA for your individualistic purpose, okay, which again it can be an organizational based implementation, or it can be individualistic application as well, right? It's purely up to the need, and everyone are having a need to implement RPA, so that's a simple fact. And so there is no end game with the applications with RPA. So this is just a glimpse of what can be done, right? So even a typical bank statement reconciliation, which is again a complex and a tedious process, and only very few people can do it. Okay, with the same method that can also be achieved. Okay, so the same way, even in the medical field, there are some certain diagnoses which can only be done by specialist, and if there are at least some rules which can be set, okay, which can be either like semi-structured at least, the diagnosis, at least it can give a guidance for the experts to look into a particular medical record, right? So that is what the industry is also moving towards, and especially in this new normal, we were looking at contactless interaction or human interaction. So this again, we would need smarter applications to handle the new needs of the coming world, right? So, and even if you look at online trade execution, so some people would have, you would have tried online trades, okay, and even there are tools to do that, right? You can set bots in the tool as well, right? So, but those have some certain limitations in terms of the flexibility and your own logic to be implemented. Okay, the online trade execution can also be built upon using an RPA, in which your own specific business logic or your own individualistic goals can be set for the trades, when to sell your stock or when to buy it. Okay, those sort of rules with the limitation threshold based on your other logics that you have can be set, and it can again play a key role in every microsecond matters, especially in a trade. So that way you'll be able to have smarter applications. Okay, even if you look at asset management companies, okay, or wealth management companies, okay, we are talking about individualistic, even those big companies like Barclays, HSBC, their own wealth management divisions. So they have their asset management part in which they need to manage their customers' trades, responsibility given to them. So they are not going to do it individually or a manual way. Yeah, of course they are doing it now, but some of them are moving towards RPA to even automate them, because there are many simple rules as well given by the customer as well as by the agent who is executing it. So that is one option that is again open for implementation. And know your customer. So that's a straightforward procedure. Though we say a straightforward procedure, that also is a growing field. And I'm not sure whether all of you are aware or not, but even in US, even the last election that is held, the document verification was not given that much importance compared to developing nations like India. When we have an election, we have a stringent, at least comparatively, a stringent process to give an identification and a checklist so that you can do the voting, right? So that kind of document verification will also play a key role in the days ahead, right? And especially audit trails, which typically is a boring process, which nobody wants to get involved with the routine work. So again, RPA is tireless. You can implement with that. Claims processing with again policies, company policies that you can define. And the more major part is predictive analysis, right? Predictive or future oriented analysis based on your data and your own sets of goals for the next coming future. You can set and you can have that predictions. And performance management, it can again be periodical. So all these factors, some of them need individual attention, some of them have a company based policy, some of them will again need that kind of an authentication before looking at those. So all these aspects can be built in using RPA applications, okay, which again can also be changed later on. Say for example, a company's policy on a particular threshold, if it wants to increase or decrease, it can be just as a set a parameter in UiPath. Okay, wherever we want to set, like we can do that, right? So those sort of flexibility is given with RPA, which again, if I look at it in a different way, it can be inclusive of BPM, it can be inclusive of your AIML applications, as well as your OCR reading capabilities or data extraction capabilities, right? So you can think of it as a like comprehensive or holistic or a centralized future in which you can look at whatever smarter way to integrate, you can do that, and then you can have an application out of it, right? And respective to RPA, I think Virgin Transport, which is popular in UK, so they read their claim like the complaints processing, okay, and the turnaround time is quicker because of the automation. And there is something called as cognitive automation, which is also picking up like Industry 4.0 is also moving more towards cognitive intelligence with RPA. Okay, so that is again a smarter way to build your processing. It is again not restricted to any specific industry. Okay, as we had mentioned, if it is applicable for an individual, it can be applicable for any industry. So that is a simple way to look at it. And UiPath, again, they are more focused towards going towards RPA 4.0, and they have a vision of a bot for every human or buddy bot. And I think this you might already know, as with RPA, either it can be a structured or a rule based or a repetitive task. So that's the best way to look at a RPA application or to implement it. Again, it can be the bots that you create can be an attended bot or an unattended bot. Okay, attended bot meaning like imagine if you're even if you're in a laboratory or a bio lab, that you have all the things done, all the processing done by a bot that you created, but just for a QA check anyway, since it's a critical data that need to be consolidated, so it can be attended by the QA check with the lab technician, say for example, and then that's the attended bot. So attended doesn't mean it's fully done manually. So very minimalistically, what is essential can be given with the human intervention. Otherwise, it should be the bot which should take priority. And I was mentioning RPA 4.0, cognitive intelligence with RPA. So that's what the industry is also moving towards. Only then we will get a better and a smarter applications to be built on, and not just a typical workflow. Okay, so let's look at one example on how we can achieve that. So imagine I have a data, a list of user profiles or user data in an Excel list. Right, and I want to mail them individually, specifying their name as well as their the specific email ID. Instead of sending a generic email, I want to be a specific focused email, so I can do it that way. So I have a workflow created. One is for reading data from the Excel file, and second is sending a specific content, a formatted content, to that particular email list that we just saw. Yeah, right. So in the first one, what I have done is like just a simple read operation onto that Excel to understand what fields are there inside it. Okay, so that is the Excel file that we just saw. Okay, and second is the email sending part. Okay, looping through the particular list of emails and sending an SMTP email. Okay, so of course we can give a format. Say for example, if I look at the body, it can be a formatted HTML, which you can anyway send like this. With tags you can specify, and the subject we want it to be customized. Say for example, UC train the trainer program, e-certificates for so and so user. So row 1 would be the username or the recipient whom we want to mention it in the subject. So that is retrieved dynamically and placed in the subject. And the body content, if you look at it, is again dynamic based on respect to the row 1, that is the username, and then the content that we are specifying it. Okay, and we can also mention the to address. I just want to mail it to a specific email ID. Okay, so I'm just mentioning the row number 3, 0, 1, 2 and 3. So row of 3 dot to string, and I'm mentioning the credentials in which I want to send it from, right? So this way I'm actually first extracting the data and sending it to a specific set of users. And what I attach here is from a particular folder. Okay, I'm taking the file name to attach it to that. So if I look at that particular folder, it contains a list of certificates, okay, or the image files which will be sent across to that email. Right, so let's just execute it. So it is actually extracting the data from the Excel file and then using that with a customized email format, we are sending it to a set of recipients. Okay, and let's just for a sake, we'll remove some of the records. We'll just have, let's say, maybe 10 to be sent. So what this is going to do is it's going to send an email, the customized email, to this email ID that is mentioned. So as you will see, there will be a bot running. I think there is one more icon for UI with the GatePath logo. So that is a bot running in the background. Okay, I think some authentication error. Okay, credentials cannot be. Okay, so let me just show you how it will be. I think it's a credentials thing. Okay, so if you look at here, like this is the previous email sent with the live example I'm showing it to you, right? So it has been sent to a particular user, okay, with the customized subject and the body content along with the certificate. Okay, so this again can be customized to any level. You can define your own logic, and even if you can post conditions to it, say for example, you have a college name as well. I could have pretty well included that part of this. And this logic, again, imagine if it is in a very big process flow, business process flow. So it will, of course, include the policies and the rules that need to be defined in the flow. So here we only have a simple flow. Okay, just read and then send. That's it, right? But in turn, you can have logic defined, okay, with all the activities that is possible through the UiPath Studio. Okay, and you can even do OCR based data extraction. Okay, so we will do one more quick thing to understand data extraction from another application. Okay, so this actually logins to a particular site, and then uh, it does the logic of extracting a huge set of table and then doing the processing with that. So let us see how it happens. Okay, I think the site itself is not available now. So instead of this, we'll mention it as the new site. Okay, and site itself has changed, I believe. Okay, so let's look at a different one. Okay, so let's look at data scrapping from a site. Sorry, I think that I think I had a full example, so that's why some of the sites are changed completely. Okay, let's look at this. I think this is the best way. Okay. Okay, so what we have is an Excel sheet upon which we are extracting data from it and then using that to fill up a particular form, Google form, okay, on a repeated basis with all the data that is available. Okay, for some reason I think I reinstalled it. Okay. Sorry, 1 second. Let me enter the month of my date of birth, year, date. So it tries to fill up the data. Okay, and gives me the zodiac sign, sun sign for me, right? So this way we are actually extracting data from a particular site, okay, by filling up these details, right? So imagine if we have a list of users with the date of birth and you want to find all the sun signs, okay, you could have filled it up, made it in a loop, okay, fill this up, the date of birth, and then it will generate the zodiac sign for you. And again, we are extracting that, okay? So the extraction happens in the result, right? Say, for example, say after I click on calculate or the bot clicks on calculate, it is trying to extract the text from the page, okay, in which the zodiac sign is mentioned. So it is extracting the data and then putting it into a message box, okay. So for this date of birth, what is the corresponding zodiac sign, right? So let's run it again to understand better. So it is just a simple input dialog which expects me to enter the month and the year and the date. Okay, once I do that, it auto fills up the uh, data in the first page, and then after it calculates, it generates, if you look at below, it actually generates a zodiac sign corresponding to the date of birth mentioned, and that is extracted and gives me it in a message box, right? So we are doing a data scraping from the site and then doing some processing with that, right? So that's what this is. And say in between, let's say if I want to extract something else, okay, so let me say that I want to have the zodiac symbol to be extracted. I can mention that. I don't need the whole table data. I just need the specific data to be extracted. So I can just mention that. Yeah. So let me just once again. Let's apply this. So either it can be a full text OCR or a native OCR, which again can be accurate based on what engine that you use. So full text is always typically recommended. So you can do a cross check and then yeah, complete it. So imagine like the first extraction that we did, okay, we made it into an output variable called zodiac sign. Similarly, it once it extracts, it will also give you a output variable auto generated, or you can create your own. So okay, so that's up to you. So let's mention the variable that, okay, let's create a new one. So this is, I think, zodiac symbol. So let's mention the same thing here. So in the message box, let's add we want to understand the symbol of it. It's simple. So let's define a global scope and then create the variable. Yeah, so that's fine. So let's mention it here. Yeah. So what we have is like we have the zodiac sign that is already read and displayed, and we'll also include a zodiac symbol which is generated out of it. Yeah. So we have the zodiac, both the zodiac sign as well as the zodiac symbol generated and extracted out of it. Right. So for any application, like you can mention where you want your data scrapping to be. Okay, and you can use either the native OCR or the full text. Okay, and if you want to be more accurate, again you need to change the engine, OCR engines. So there are popular like engines as well available. Like some are commercial, some you can utilize it for free. And again, based on like especially say for example, the invoice processing example that I shown you. So this is a typical way that this is at least better, right? But some of the OCR extractions from documents, even some handwritten documents, are pretty much challenging. So that is when you would need to change the OCR engine, which are specialized or which are more accurate towards the document formats that you are working with. But like especially the areas that we saw, okay, especially the KYC. Say, imagine if you are doing your document verification using your Aadhaar card or even your voter ID, it will again be in a disturbed format once you scan it. The extracting data out of it is again challenging. It again depends on the best case scenario, the engine that you want to use, right? Apart from that, if it is a standard, let's say desktop applications or browser based, it will not make much of a difference, but only handwritten formats as well as especially when it is open for public, those sort of documents, even in order processing, right? Most of the times it might be digitized, but sometimes it might be with the physical documents which would have been scanned, and sometimes it will just be say for example fax, right? So those sort of areas that you need to fix on the OCR technique that you want to utilize. Okay, so Tesseract is one of them. So likewise, based on the document that you want to process, you can choose the OCR engine. Right? Yeah. Shopping item. Yeah. So let's look at this example again for data extraction. Again, some of these examples, like the site had also changed, so that's when it's not extracting it. But the intention is to extract the top listed ones so that it gives you an idea. Say, for example, even if you want to look at the top rated movie and you want to do a cinema booking out of it, you can still do it, right? So without wasting or spending much of your time, so we can try to do the decisions if you just mention the conditions to it or the logic to it. Let's look at another way. So here we are looking at Google Map and searching for, let's say, engineering colleges near to me. Right. So let's say imagine that if I want that list of colleges and then understand it. Again, you can look at it as a list of data in a, let's say, in a tabular form. So let me just explain. So you're extracting a structured data and then you're trying to post it into your Excel sheet. Say, for example, colleges.excel. Imagine if you're expected to like extract the data. Okay, even with the logic, you can still do that. So here it is just the college name which is extracted, but in fact it can be anything, like any information that will help you to make a decision, right? So even if it is for a reporting purpose or even an attendance marking system, if it is a routine thing, and if you have in an Excel sheet to a form or form to an Excel, whatever way we want, we can again do the extraction, right? So Excel handling is either through the read range, okay, which we saw in the previous example, right here. So reading from Excel sheet is straightforward, just mentioning the location which the sheet is available and the sheet name, and mentioning the data table in which the resultant data should be saved as of now, and writing to a Excel sheet. Again, you would need to mention the data table which holds the data to be written to the sheet, and this data table is like a tabular form, as you all know. It's similar to a data structure like a string or an array in a tabular form, which was extracted through my Google Map data scraping, in which the particular cells are retrieved to understand what kind of data need to be extracted. And the one interesting thing is the Excel to form. Say, for example, you have a list of data to be updated. Let's look at it, list.excel. Okay, imagine if this is the data that need to be submitted on, and you have this Google form in which the data need to be submitted. So basically, you're actually extracting the data from each cell from the Excel and then updating into each field of the form, right? And then you are repeating it, right? So for this, you are initially reading it from the Excel sheet and then mentioning the data table in which need to hold the data temporarily, and open a browser, and for each row or in a loop, what you are mentioning is you can do a simple basic or a desktop based recording, and then mention in the form where you want to fill it up. Say, for example, this particular area, what data you want to fill it up. Say, for example, if I again do one more thing, so let me click here. So that's a click event here. Okay, and I want to type. Okay, so what I would like to type is the data from the Excel, which is that row of So I would have mentioned the row of 0 or row of 1, 2 that I want to extract data and mention it in the field. And finally submit, and then repeat the process by clicking on the submit another response. So this is again in a loop, in a for loop, in which data or each row from the list is taken and updated with the data to the fields in the form and submitted in a repetitive manner, right? So this way we are actually doing a form to or Excel to form. Okay, so the same way could have done it from a Excel sheet to a form as well. Sorry, form to an Excel as well, right? So this invoice processing is where you would like to utilize your specific engine, OCR engine. Again, by default, it has a Tesseract and the Microsoft OCR engine. But in fact, like there are commercial OCR engines available. If you are want an accurate results and based on the document that is available, you can utilize those set of engines. And data extraction from applications is straightforward. And extracting data, again, it can be from different fields. And the accuracy, again, it's a factor depending on how good it is visible and what logics that you can also mention. You can define logics based on your, again, your wish. So it can go to any level. This is what we do in a typical PPM workflow as well, right? So we define workflows. Say, for example, even if it is a leave processing, okay, or leave management, you would need to extract data from your internal database or from different source and understand what is the leave left over for this particular employee, give the guidance for the employee that this is the leave available or not available or some red mark indications. So we can use the workflow or the process flow that you create in the RPA Studio to mention your workflow logic. And it can vary depending on what you exactly want to do, whether it is a while loop or a for loop or the conditions, okay, or the delay mechanisms that you want to incorporate. Certain times you would need to wait to make a decision, so that can be possible. And all the activities that you are able to utilize from the studio, you can utilize. And computer vision is again one of them if you want to do that part to integrate. You can again do data extraction even through Excel, CSV, or even any other formats, or even through email. Okay, so data extraction is one part. If you look at it in a different angle, the same thing is possible. The same applications, you can also write data onto it. So let's just run this quick one. So I'm just opening up a simple notepad file and saving it to a location, and that's it, right? So it depends on what application that you want to open up. So on opening up a Notepad exe, which again can be any desktop application, and the process you want to do. So here I would have made it as, let's say, a desktop based application. Okay, and I can even mention what application I want to open up. So in this case, it would become an Excel file. So if you look at here, so it is actually opening up an Excel sheet. Okay, any Excel application for that matter, and you can proceed with that, whatever processing that you want to do, whether you want to type it or copy or text or an image, you can do it that way. Okay, here we just opened up a notepad, clicked on the editable area, and we have typed a particular text, HOLA, and we just did a save, like clicked on file, save, and then typed on the name that we wish to type. Yeah, HOLA text is the name of the file that we gave, and then we clicked on save and then closed it. Eventually we closed it. So like any typical user sequence that you want to try, you can utilize the desktop based recordings as well. So it is again, if you do the data extraction, it is just opposite that is also achievable with the same format. Okay, let's look at this example. See if it is still open. So if you look at, we are filling up the data, the form in a continuous fashion. Yeah, and we are done with it, right? So what we did here is we just opened a browser application. Okay, we read the data from challenge.xlx file. Right, so it has some set of user data, user defined fields. Read it and placed it in a data table called challenge dt. So there is a in that particular RPA challenge page, there is a start option. So initially it would have been start. Yeah, so initially it would have been start, and there are a set of fields in each round. So they have different rounds with different forms. Okay, so if you look at round 2 has a different set of form, round 3 again, round 4, round 5, 6 and 7, right? So let us run this again, try to understand how quickly it does that. So it goes to the page. Okay, okay, the Excel sheet is open. So whenever you do Excel extraction, try to close that. So it just go to that site initially, opening up a browser application. So submitting the data from the Excel sheet to the form. So if you look at it, these are different forms which had been filled up with data. Yeah, and finally it says 100% success rate of filling up all the fields, 70 out of 70 fields in so and so milliseconds, right? So it could also had tried this particular challenge so that it becomes evident that you can do with Excel and forms. Okay, so initially it is just a reading of the Excel sheet into the data table, and then with the opening of that particular page, it does run multiple times, and for each one you're filling up the first name, last name, email fields. So the anchor base is for specific forms. So as you seen, like we had around 7 forms in it which need to be filled up with the data, with the similar user data. So the user data or the fields remain the same. Say for example, it is the same user data. Okay, it's the same format but apply to different forms, right? So even here, like there are ways that you can make it little better and quicker. So delay before and after. Okay, and typically every click or the types that you do will also have that delay that you can avoid to speed up the process. Yeah, delay before and after. So finding a label, meaning the corresponding field is what you want to look at and update. And you can, if you reduce the delays, it will be much quicker as well. And there are other ways to eliminate that. Yeah. So it's again similar to your code efficiency or code effectiveness, which you can apply here to reduce to speed up the process. Right. So just to give you an idea, so this particular logic is little complex, as you see. It's not a normal flow. Just to guess a random number. So just for the sake, it generates a random number and displays it to us to know, and then not to waste time. 292. Let's think. It's asking us to guess. So let me put a number. Let's say 250. It says above 250. So let me put 300. So it says below 300. So I'll put 275. It says above 275. So then I put 280. It says above 280. So I put 290, which is above 290. So I would put 299. It says below 299. So I'll put 291, above 291. So I'll put 298, again below. Again, if I drill down to 292, then it says the correct number, and the number is 292, which is generated, which was guessed correctly. So this particular logic, if you look at, we have mixture of different if else combinations with a loop inside a loop. Okay, if the random number guessed is greater than the user guessed, then it will be the then block, which includes mentioning above, and if it is less, again it checks, and it can be either be low, below, or it should be equal. So that's why this else part is left empty. and it will continue, the loop will continue till the random number is not equal to the user guess number, and finally when it comes out, that means that it is equal and the guess is correct and the random number generated would be so and so, right? So you can like implement any kind of business logic with some conditions or looping constructs, typical in our coding that we do. And you can either include desktop based application or browser based application for data extraction. Okay, whether it is an Excel or a Microsoft application, desktop application that you want to do, or even a browser, or even an image like the one that we saw. Say invoices like this can also be extracted with data, right? So this is actually much better, like, but there are invoices which are much more um, less readable. Yeah, this is even better. Okay, so you can mention what fields that you are opening it up. Okay, so let's see if this works. Yeah, there are page changes, so that's why it's not able to read. Yeah, it is trying to extract. Yeah, cannot find it. Okay, that's what, like, that area had changed. So let's try it again. So what it does is it searches based on a criteria, and it picks up the top list that is available, and it tries to extract the data. Okay, what was the book title and the corresponding cost or pricing for it, right? So that's what I wanted it to extract and then give me the result. Okay, so you can think of it as like decisions that you can take based on the analysis with the logic that you gave, right? So I wanted it to pick, go to the site and then search a particular area, and then extract both the book title as well as its corresponding price. Book title, I made it as a span product title, and then the next one, the pricing, I just made it a span one, and I was just displaying it in the message box. Right, so the span product title and the span one, which is the cost for it corresponding to it. So likewise, you can also mention what you want to extract. Okay, and you can mention rules, how you want to, say for example, by a particular author, okay, or the ratings, or the whole data, like including the other options available for the cost. So let's see how it comes up. Okay, so what it gave me is the whole hardcover or the current pricing for this particular item and the corresponding set of data or the pricing options, other pricing options available, right? So it depends on how I want to extract the data. You can even mention the other information if you'd like from the application as well. Say for example, the even the description, the full description of it. Okay, or even the frequently bought items with that. Okay, or just the description. So sometimes there might be delay in the site, or they would have even changed the area in which the actual data which we record would be present, right? So you need to be sure that you are having the right site and the area in which it is mentioned is also the right way. So let's run it again and see how it extracts. Yeah. So it is extracting the whole pricing information that we require. Again, the formatting will differ based on the spacing that is available. If you look at even here, the hardcover, it has given a clear spacing and then the options for the pricing below. Okay, so here we asked to click on the image so that it goes to the particular area. Say for example, if I had initially searched on the books, right? So I just changed it. Okay, so I have two options here. One is that Kindle option and the paperback option. So since we have mentioned the whole formatting of costing, it is giving you both. Okay, so not sure where this read with our free app. Okay, yeah, it was below that costing with Kindle, and paperback option also it is listed with this way. So if you had mentioned it in a data table, of course you can get the list of automation books. Let's say the top 10 or the top 5. If you want to again take it up, you can include it as a pattern, do the scrapping. So give a pattern, then the top 5 will be taken up every time. Okay, so I think the last few slides in it, especially I was talking about fintech companies, they are also moving towards a smart way of doing certain, let's say, aspects of even the process flow. They want to define it in RPA rather than implementing it in a BPM. Typical BPM is strength pointers to integrate with multiple applications, but the automation is a key strength for RPA. So they want to utilize that, and they can, again, the workflows in a fintech company, if you look at typical way, is definitely much shrinker, shorter than the other organizations, a typical tech company. So they would like to build as many applications as possible, part of their processing, right? So that is when they identify RPA as one of the most promising technologies for automating complaints process, saving the staff time, reducing the errors. Like, because in financial services, reducing error, you cannot make mistakes. It's very costly. Even 0.01 as a currency is a very big number if you look at multiple customers. And the customer experience, because of its quick turnover and smarter way to interact. And even if you look at if you do a smarter KYC processing, then you have a better chance of having satisfied customers, right? So that is what fintech companies are looking at, and that will be the way forward to it as well. Okay, and thank you so much, and thank you for being patient, and all the best for your implementation projects with RPA. So thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Any questions from participant side?
Sir, I have one question, sir.
Yes, sir.
Uh, yeah. Suppose, say I want to get data from my application. Suppose
Yeah.
that my application is not in open mode. It is not open. How to get it? Both
Uh,
robot and application both should be in running mode to get the data, or the application is not in running mode. How to get? Is it
See,
possible?
yeah, I can understand your question, but when you create your bot, okay, this is a bot creation, right? So when you are creating a bot, you should mention the application which you want to open it up on a routine basis, right? So while creating this application, you should mention what application you want to open up, right? So here, when I click on Start App, let's say if I'm mentioning this PPT or my PowerPoint as an application, I should have it open so that it understands this is the exe that need to be opened, right? So only while creating a bot you would need to mention or open up the application, but otherwise it's not essential. Yeah.
Okay. It can be opened on a particular day, particular time.
Yeah, that is the scheduling that you're talking about. Okay.
Okay.
So what you are mentioning is two things. One is that uh, mentioning the application to be open, that is while creating the bot. Second is opening it on a regular basis. Say, for example, every day morning, 9 o'clock, if I want to open up that particular application and do some processing. So that is a scheduler part in UiPath. Okay. So that is apart from the bot. Okay. There is something called a scheduler in UiPath. Once you go to the orchestrator, you will come to know. There you can schedule your timings.
Okay. The application need to be opened. It's not necessary to be in the same machine. It can be anywhere, right?
The bot, wherever it is running, it should be in the same application. But if you have a need that it should be in a different system altogether, there is a Citric application option which you can utilize.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any further questions from participants? Any more clarifications required? You can post your questions. Okay, if there is no further
Yeah.
questions from participants, we can formally close this session. From the bottom of the heart, I would like to extend my
Thank you.
sincere thanks to Mr. Maheshwaran sir for accepting our invitation and sparing your valuable time in sharing this information to the participants in information extraction from different applications as part of RPA. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, participants, for your patient listening, and we believe this session is another informative session to you, and you have utilized the session fully. You can leave. Yeah, you can join back by 2:30 for the another session.